If you've been told you have insulin resistance and you don't know what to do about it, this episode is for you. The first time my labs came back showing signs of insulin resistance, I thought it was a lab error. I've always exercised and eaten a clean diet, so why would my labs show borderline diabetes? I had my labs repeated, and sure enough, my numbers were better. Until they weren't. Could that initial result have been the very first warning that I have a genetic tendency for diabetes and all the organ damage that comes with it? Well, yeah, but even if I had paid attention, I don't think I would have known what to do. So today, I'm going to give you the roadmap I wish someone had handed me. Healthy isn't just what you do, it's who you become. I'm Dr. Vicki, and this is Healthy Looks Great on You, a lifestyle medicine podcast to help you reclaim your energy, your focus, and your well-being. Life-tested, doctor-approved. Maybe you're like my friend who was in the same boat. Her hemoglobin A1C was pushing 6.5%, almost to the go stand in line at the pharmacy to pick up your prescription level. She tried everything. Well, almost everything. She covered all the pillars of lifestyle medicine. Her weight was normal, no alcohol, great coping techniques for stress, good social connectedness, proper sleep, lots of exercise, and clean eating. Her numbers didn't budge. And she really didn't want to hear what I had to say. You know, sometimes people closest to you aren't interested in your professional opinion or advice. She thought she'd tried everything, and she was very motivated because she didn't want to start medication. She's also very disciplined, and she followed my suggestion to eat a whole food, plant-based diet. Not strict vegetarian, but about 80-20. Not only did her A1C normalize, her cholesterol took a big drop. Have I got your attention now? And look, that's not possible for everyone. Sometimes medication is necessary. And let's face it, most people can't make radical changes that last. But nearly everyone can make small changes that help change directions. And did you know that the first clue that type 2 diabetes was reversible started in the operating room? In the mid-90s, landmark research showed one of the side effects of weight loss surgeries was not only the disappearance of pounds, but also the disappearance of type 2 diabetes. And get this, people actually went into remission after surgery, but before significant weight loss occurred, which suggested mechanisms beyond caloric restriction. So much for trying to starve away diabetes like they did in the old days, right? Who wants to sign up for that anyway? Not me. I like to eat. Yet, all these years later, people start and stop radical diets that don't make a difference because you can't stick with it. Finally, in 2016, major health organizations like the World Health Organization accepted that type 2 diabetes is reversible with lifestyle interventions. But it took another 5 years for that concept to really take hold. Okay, now that we've covered History 101 of type 2 diabetes today and causes of insulin resistance on the podcast last week, you're ready to go to advanced medical school and learn how to reverse insulin resistance. And the good news is you don't have to starve. But you do have to change. And weight loss is still fundamental. Even 10% can help course correct. And exercise is important too. But I'm afraid that people are just going to start throwing rotten fruit at me if I say, just diet and exercise. But hang on to that fruit because you don't have to let it overripen. You can actually eat it, even if you have prediabetes. But it must be part of a healthy, balanced diet, and you can't overdo it. When you include fruit in your diet, be sure and include those that are full of nutrients and fiber. My top 3 picks are berries, apples with the skin on, and clementines. You know, those cute little oranges. Not for throwing at me, but for eating in the form that nature produces. So a blueberry cobbler doesn't count. The berries need to be a lot closer to the bush than that. Whole fruit has lots of fiber and polyphenols, and both of those are good weapons to combat the body's inflammatory response to sugar. Wait a minute. Doesn't fruit have sugar? Yes, and it's fructose, but when it's whole, it's packaged with fiber and nutrients. And fructose is metabolized differently than glucose, which is actually why the whole fruit is fine, but the fruit juice with added fructose, like high fructose corn syrup, can be particularly problematic for insulin resistance. You see, the more you process fruit, the more fiber you lose. Now, I'm sure some of you will be surprised to learn that people who eat fruit have a lower chance of developing insulin resistance. It's true. Now, once you're fully diabetic, fruit may not be quite so friendly. And if you are diabetic, please listen to your dietitian. They're the experts. Unless they tell you to eat bacon with your breakfast so you get a dose of protein. Not only will you get some protein from bacon, it's also a source of saturated fat, and it causes fat to build up in the liver cells, and that makes insulin resistance worse, not better. Full-fat dairy and red meat can increase insulin resistance and cause your blood sugar to increase by interfering with beta cell function in the pancreas. That's where insulin is made. Your daily intake of saturated fat ought to be more like a golf handicap. The lower, the better. Not that I'd know anything about a low golf handicap, but what I do know is that you need lots of fiber to treat insulin resistance. How much fiber? A lot. At least 30 grams a day. And you won't get that from chicken or yogurt, and especially not from soda or sports drinks. You only get fiber from plants, and the more they resemble their God-given design, that blueberry close to the bush, the better. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. Fiber is found in fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, beans and legumes, and whole grains. But here's what advertisers do. They shout multigrain in your face from the front of the package and then sell you a watered-down version of grains. Multigrain is not better for you. It's actually just a bunch of processed grains. Multiple grains, not whole grains. Look, each of us is unique, and there really isn't one diet for insulin resistance. But what you eat affects your weight and therefore insulin resistance. And not only what you eat, but the order you eat it. Listen, it's hard to change the composition of food on your plate, but it's easier to be mindful of the order you eat. Fiber first, from vegetables and beans and nuts. Then your protein, which can also come from vegetables, beans, and nuts. And then your simple carbs and fats last. Okay, class, that is your first assignment this week. Eat more fiber and eat it first. The ladies in the Healthy Looks Great on You lab hear me say all the time, eat more fiber. Whether we're talking about belly fat, brain fog, weight loss, cholesterol, or a heart-healthy diet. And starting today, we're going to focus on balancing blood sugar and better energy in the month of May. And you can still join for $19 a month. That's less than one copay. Recipes, meal plans, and a fun fiber challenge are included. Go to healthylooksgreatonyou.com/the-lab/ to learn more. Or just find the links in the show notes. Your future self will thank you. Now, once you're done eating, put your fork down and go for a walk. Because muscle soaks sugar out of the bloodstream, even if insulin levels are low. Plus, regular exercise makes your body more sensitive to insulin. And yes, you need strength training and aerobic exercise to maximize the benefit. But even a short walk after meals can make a difference. Plus, it's just so very doable, and it can help lower stress levels too. Insulin resistance is the result of genetics and lifestyle. But lifestyle means much more than just diet and exercise. Stress matters too because chronic stress causes chronically elevated cortisol levels, and that increases the risk of visceral fat and belly fat, and all of that contributes to insulin resistance. Plus, it interferes with sleep, and poor sleep is also associated with an elevation of cortisol, an imbalance of the hunger and satiety hormones, and that can lead to cravings for unhealthy foods. And all this just piles on more visceral fat, more belly fat, and more insulin resistance. Stress and sleep are so connected to insulin resistance that we go much deeper on both in the lab because knowing this stuff matters, but having a plan for actually managing it is where the real change happens. Because when you've got insulin resistance, you feel fatigued, foggy-brained, and not only is your blood sugar high, so is your blood pressure, your bad cholesterol, and triglycerides. This whole vicious loop keeps spinning around, and it's time to get off the merry-go-round and get serious about blood sugar and insulin. That's exactly what I did, and here's what happened. I had better energy and focus, and my productivity skyrocketed. My mood improved, and my skin even looked younger. But the biggest change? My appetite was no longer out of control. So now what? What will you do to prevent or start reversing insulin resistance? Adding fiber is the first step. It helps with weight loss, and even a little makes a big difference. The great thing about exercise is you can start wherever you are and move forward. The benefits start immediately. And don't forget stress management and restorative sleep. And if you'd like a weekly nudge in your health journey, make sure you're signed up for my newsletter. And if you're ready to go all in, join the lab. Moving even a small step in the right direction can help you get healthy, stay healthy, and healthy looks great on you.
The information contained in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not considered to be a substitute for medical advice. You should continue to follow up with your physician or healthcare provider and take medication as prescribed. Though the information in this podcast is evidence-based, new research may develop and recommendations may change.